Okay guys, so we are back. This is Ninja Andrew and
Ninja Misty
with another episode of Ninja News, and today we're going to be taking a look at some of the comments made by Zero Punctuation or Yahtzee on the Escapist channel. Basically just some of the things that he said like in more recent memory about zombie games, and he has the position or opinion that zombie games, I guess, are either overdone or are essentially, I think as he puts it, like lazy game making or lazy storytelling. Is lazy on the part of the developers, and I'm just kind of here to challenge that assertion a little bit with our own experience, I guess. So, I personally think that zombies are actually like the last great untapped resource in video game making and storytelling, and I know that some people are going to be like shaking their heads at that, being like, "Oh man, but there's so many zombie games out there," and to that I agree. But at the same time, how many of them are good zombie games? You know what I mean? Like, I think there's, just like there are good zombie movies and bad zombie movies, there are good zombie games and kind of not so good zombie games. And I think like one of the reasons that I decided to do this video from the perspective of Plants vs. Zombies was to really ask the question, is it lazy to do zombies in a game like this? You know what I mean? Because I think that the game developers put in just as much time making all the characters and making all of the costume pieces as they did for the Plant side. So like I don't think it was lazy on that part. And for me, it's kind of like an easy go-to sort of storytelling or plot device or whatever you want to call it that allows everybody to sort of know exactly what you're talking about and know exactly what they're up against. So like, I guess like some of the other examples that I can think of zombie games that I think are really good are things like say DayZ or the upcoming H1Z1, stuff like that, where zombies are not necessarily the focus of the game, but they're there to sort of provide motivation slash like random events, I guess you could call it. Like, it's like, if they weren't there, you and the guy sitting across the buildings from each other would just stay crouched until one of you got bored, and then you'd pop your head up and be like, okay, I'm going to either try to snipe him or get my head blown off. Whereas, like, if you had zombies there, then one of them might come up behind you and force you to get up, which is going to change the gameplay. Just the same as, there might be one that sneaks up behind the guy that you're trying to shoot and gives away his position. So it's kind of like, it's an easy way to do that without sort of relying on, I don't know, other cheap video gaming tactics like having radars and, you know what I mean? Like, things that I would say maybe take a bit more away from the gaming experience than really adding to it. But that's just my own personal opinion. But, like, take some other, like, examples into consideration, but just, like, is it lazy when, Telltale Games uses zombies to tell their Walking Dead story? You know what I mean? Is it lazy when companies use other shorthands, like, I don't know, say armies fighting or war or aliens as a plot device or, storytelling device in their games? Because it's like, to just pick on zombies as being like, oh, this is one overly done thing. Well, it's like, what? Army games aren't overdone? Space games aren't overdone? Like, fantasy games aren't overdone? It's like, at this point, I think everything's kind of been done. So it's just like, to make the point that it's like, oh, zombie games, there's nothing that they could ever do to redeem themselves, and there'll never be another good zombie game ever again, and like, that's kind of the impression, that it's just like there's nothing that can be done to please this guy, and it's kind of like, from my position, it's kind of like, man, like, don't stop trying. I want you to do more. I want you to, like, make better zombie games. I want you to put, you know, more realism and put more effort into making it feel like it's real rather than something that couldn't happen, you know? Like, what are your thoughts on the zombies?
I really don't have a problem with zombie games any more than I'd have a problem with a game about aliens or some sort of fantasy monster. I mean, it's kind of like, what are you proposing that's going to be so different from all the other gaming devices that are out there? So, and I would say, I think it was, gosh, probably in the early 90s, on the Super Nintendo, there was a Zombies Ate My Neighbors. I think that was like the first zombie game that I played. Yeah. There haven't been like a bazillion zombie games, at least from my perspective, that have saturated it to the point where I'm just like, if I see another zombie, I'm going to scream. Now, with that being said, there's a lot of gaming devices that developers rely on sometimes that's not the most creative use of the zombie. We've played some bad zombie games, or some games that you're just kind of scratching your head going, well, you know, what exactly were they going for here? And by the same token, we've played some interesting zombie games.
That's right.
So, you know, for me, it's like, if the game is good, I really don't care what's coming after me, if it's a zombie or, you know, some sort of horrid creature. It just depends on what you're going for.
Yeah.
You know, zombies, you know, we had this discussion, they're kind of a blank canvas that you can write your story on. You know, is it in space?
Go.
Is it in the Old West? You know, like in Red Dead? Is it in the creepy village? Is it inside the insane asylum? Is it in the graveyard? Is it outside of Crazy Dave's mansion here in Plants vs. Zombies? So for me, it's a game mechanic that gives you a lot of license for being creative. You know, or are you going to play it straight up like, take the Telltale game with Walking Dead, where you really get the sense that it's the mindless drones, you know, mindless hordes of zombies that are coming for you, versus other games where you have zombies that are more intuitive in some respects. Even when you look at the creatures that come after you at night in Dying Light, that are more aware of you, or the infected that come for you. In The Walking Dead, it's usually just the sheer number, you know, that are coming for you, or you being caught in the wrong place at the wrong time. So for me, it's kind of, and here, you know, obviously you get to be the zombie. Sure, he's wacky and, you know, quite animated, so to speak, but you're still the zombie, and it's a way to interpret that. And I think the PC version of Plants vs. Zombies came out in maybe 2009. I know I've been playing it for a long time, in its other form, but it was a fresh look at the whole zombie genre. So I think
how they could be used in a game.
How they could be used in a different way, and I think it's kind of lazy to say that it's a tired gaming trope or whatever he's, you know, suggesting there, when just because you can't envision a game in which a zombie motif feels fresh does not mean that game does not exist, or it does not exist in somebody's mind and it's being developed, or
that it doesn't have anything still interesting to say about culture, society, or the world as a whole, or anything like that. You know,
I get what he's throwing out buzzwords, like, sure, you know, every game feels like it has a zombie mode. You know, I've heard that thrown out there, and it's like, well, that's just not exactly true. You know, because every game doesn't have a zombie mode.
Because then you might have a point.
Then you might have a point if every single solitary game that if it's like Assassin's Creed Zombies, and sure you get zombie mode in Call of Duty, but if it was Battlefield Zombies and God of War Zombies and DCUO Zombies, you know what I mean? Then you'd be like, okay, you know, this is get
like enough guys.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think it's just kind of it's premature to make that statement.
Yeah.
You know, it just in my opinion. But I mean, once again, it's his opinions and he's entitled to it. So
yeah,
hey.
Yeah, totally. We're just presenting, you know, the opposite side of the coin.
Sure. I mean, if he wants to miss out on cool zombie games because he's jaded and, you know, doesn't believe in the zombie power, then so be it.
Yep. And like, just one last thing that all of this, you know, made me think of is just like, I really like how zombies can be used as sort of like a metaphor to talk about culture, society, people, our deepest, darkest fears and desires, and you know, all of the, you know, the deep, interesting things about, you know, the human psyche and humanity and all that stuff. And I don't think that there's another genre out there that allows you to get that deep as quickly. You know what I mean? It's kind of like as soon as you say zombies, everybody knows what you're talking about. They know, you know, desperate situations, it's the apocalypse, you know what I mean, all this kind of stuff. And it's like, that gives you a lot of space to be able to tell some pretty deep, interesting, you know, gripping stories, and to sort of sell that short as well and just be like, oh, that's not good enough. You know what I mean? I think is, you know, not giving credit where credit is due with a lot of these games. So, you know, I look forward to, you know, more interesting social commentaries and, you know, things about the inner workings of the human mind as portrayed through zombie games and horror games in general, actually. But I guess I just like zombies because they're not vampires or werewolves or something.
You got something against vampires and werewolves?
They're just, I think, like, to me, it's like zombies are closer to being something that you could actually see happen, where zombies, or sorry, vampires and werewolves, a little bit more fantasy. I don't mind them in fantasy games, perfectly fine in Skyrim, totally makes sense. It's another metaphor for other aspects of, you know, humanity and culture and society and all that stuff, and I love the use of them there, so I don't think that it's impossible to use them well. So, you know, just something to think about, like, you know, don't just dismiss games because it's like, oh, it's this X, Y, or Z. If it looks like it has something fun or something that interests you, like, you know, why not try it out and why not give it a fair shake and, you know, all that stuff. So, this is Andrew and Misty giving you the enlightened perspective from the ninja point of view. And would you like to sign us out, Misty?
Sure, guys. Like, subscribe, comments, questions. Let us know what you think about zombies, and join us next time for more news and opinions with DorkNinjaGaming.
Woohoo!